Yes, hello friends. So now we're going to study activity-based costing. This is also in a topic one of costing, also management accounting techniques that you have acquired from prior or from previous papers that you have done. Now we are in advanced level. So activity-based costing, actually, we're going to see activity-based costing versus absorption costing. So how do we count for an overheads? These techniques are used to count for an overheads. So activity-based costing, they are telling us that when we continue, they're saying that activity-based costing, this is an alternative approach to the traditional method costing. So it helps us to cost a product, to come up with a cost of producing 1 unit of a certain product. So the ABC approach actually is like to link overheads to the product or service that causes them by absorbing overheads on the basis of activities that drive cost or cost drivers rather than on the basis of volume, on the basis of production volume. So activity-based costing, remember this. So this, therefore, this is like a guideline. Activity-based costing, it helps us to account for an overhead. So it is applied only to the overheads, those overheads that are counted in general. So we want to be specific to a certain cost center and say this cost center, let's say product, or let's say this department has incurred these costs. So we can use activity-based costing or absorption costing method. But in activity-based costing, here there is some terms we need to understand before we attempt to do whatever question, wherever it comes from. Now, what I want you to know is this. There is an idea behind where they are saying that the ideas behind activity-based costing is this. Activities, first idea behind activity-based costing, activities causes cost. You have to know that. So the activity causes cost. So the second idea behind activity-based costing, they are saying that producing products creates demand for the activities. And another idea behind activity-based costing is that costs are assigned to a product on the basis of the product's consumption of the activities. That are the ideas behind activity-based costing. That are the ideas, the assumptions you have to use when we are applying activity-based costing. Therefore, these terms, we need to understand it very clearly. There is something we call a cost pool. A cost pool, actually, cost pool is like, this is an activity that consumes resource and for which overhead costs are identified and allocated. I said that a cost pool is an activity. Is it okay? Which consumes a resource. So let's say, for example, if we have an expenditure that are incurred, let's say in general, let's say we have electricity and they pay 200,000, let's say 200,000 shillings or 200,000 Rwandan francs. If they pay that amount for those expenses in general, they are called cost pool. They say that to which an overhead are identified and are allocated. So each cost pool, there should be a cost driver. So there is what causes those expenses either to increase or reduce. There is what causes that expenditure to incur. So in general, we call that things a cost pool. Then there is another term we need to understand, a cost driver. In few words, a cost driver is an activity of cost that causes a cost to be incurred. So those activity that causes cost to be incurred, for example, labor hours, machine hours, number of setups, number of inspections, number of material issues. So those are like cost drivers we are talking about here. Are we together? So we use this cost driver to apportion our overhead, to cut down or to put in, to have breakdowns of a cost pool. Now, for calculation of for implementing activity-based costing, what I can say, there are a lot of steps, but these steps, it can also help you to implement the activity-based costing in a certain organization. So there are 5 basic steps in establishing and applying the activity-based costing system. Step number 1, of course, you need to identify the activities that consume resources and incur overhead costs. So therefore, here what I want to say is, please, once you read the question, try to identify that these are the expenditures and it has the cost associated to that expenditure is this. Those are the first step. The second step, please allocate that overhead cost to the activities that incur them. So try to find in the question the cost driver that will also that creates that activity to happen. So step number 3, you determine the cost driver for each activity or a cost pool. Step 4, you correct the data about actual activities for a cost driver. Then step number 5, you compute your overhead cost of product or service. Okay, let me give you a simple step. Let me give you here a simple, which also I can say it is a quick step. Okay. Now, in activity-based costing, simply, we said that the steps, we can go over steps for us to be able to compute or to be able to handle a question wherever it comes from. I am assuring you that you can do it. The steps, number 1, I need you to determine cost per activity. Step number 1, let me say, determine costs per activity. This will be our first step when we are computing. How do you determine this cost per activity? So this cost per activity will be equal to total costs. So you divide it by total number of activity. Total number of activity. So this total number of activity I'm talking about, this is a cost driver, what you can use as a basis of apportioning your overhead incurred. So I can say this is like a cost driver, your cost driver. It's okay. Now this total cost is an expenditure happened for a specific, okay, it is a specific activities incurred, specific cost incurred for, let's say, electricity, it costs this amount, and what it costs them, it is a cost driver. Now, number 2, the step number 2 will be to determine the cost to be allocated to each product or to each department. So let's determine again, determine the costs, are we together, to be allocated to each product or department, Okay, you determine the cost to be allocated to each product or department. To mean like that, you do allocation of that cost, that cost per activity. So use them to allocate those costs to different cost centers, to their respective cost centers. You know, cost center, it may be a product, it may be a department. So whatever that incurred, that makes cost to be incurred in organization, it is called a cost center to which a cost can be allocated. So here, how do we do that allocation? Let's say, for example, okay, I can say you take cost per activity, then you multiply by the number of activity for that product or for that department. Okay, you take the cost per activity that you get on step 1, then you multiply by number of activity for that product or for that department. Let me give you here an example. Let's say we have electricity expenditure, and they say that the whole organization incurred electricity, let's say equivalent to let's say 200,000 shillings. So, and now I want to apportion this electricity. Let's say if we are to apportion this electricity, we have to base, let's say, on number of rights. Let's say number of rights. Let's say we have a cost center. Our cost center, let's say we are producing also I can say we have a department A, we have a department B, and also we have a department C. And let's say the number of rights that are there. Let's say the number of rights that are there in department A. Let's say they have 12 rights. Let's say in B they have 5 rights. Let's say in C, let's say they have 3. They have 3 rights. So what does this mean? This number of rights, it is my cost driver. I said it will be also the number of activity that we are talking about here. Here, it will be this. So now, if for this number of lights is going to be our cost driver, I'm going to use them as my basis of apportioning this electricity. Is it okay to be specific such that I know the cost to be charged on department A will be this, the cost to be charged on department B will be this, and also the cost to be charged on department C will be this. Let's compute our cost to be allocated to each department, to each cost center. So I'm going to first of all determine. So let me remind you this thing. I said once you see a question on activity-based costing, think these 2 steps for you to compute to be able to come up with the good solution. You have to first think that now I need to determine cost per activity. Then number 2, you do allocation of the cost to each product or to each respective department. Now we have here the expenditure, which is electricity. It is an overhead. Let's account for it. I'm going now to determine step number 1. Step number 1, it is to determine cost per activity. Let me determine cost per activity here. Cost per activity. Let me determine it. I'm going to take the total cost that incurred. The total cost incurred is so the total cost incurred here. The total cost incurred is if you are seeing my computation, the cost incurred is this 200,000. This 200,000. Said this 200,000. These are total cost incurred. Then of the activity, then I divide it by how much? By total number of activities. So how many number of activities? I know the number of activity is 12 plus 5 in a department B, then plus 3 in a department C. Are we together? So this summation will give me this summation, it is going to give me my cost per activity. It is going to help me to absorb or to apportion these costs, this overhead that happened in general. So I'm finding here cost per activity. This is the cost per activity. Cost per activity. This is cost per activity that I am trying to find. So here it is going to be this total cost, then I divide by this number of activity, this total cost driver, that the basis I have used, so which is 20. It will be 10,000. It will be 10,000. And remember, if this is the number of rights and this is a cost, now I have cost per rights. I'm going to have 10,000 shillings per rights. Per rights. Is it okay? Because I divided by the number of rights. I'm going to have a cost per rights. This is my cost per activity now I get, which means now I'm going to allocate. How I will be allocating? Okay, let me give you this. Let me show you a simple way. Let me give you this. Let's do this. You are able to see this. I'm doing an allocation. I am doing an allocation. Let's do allocation. We say that, okay, this will be department C. Then let's have another department here. I'm going to put it here like this way. Okay. Let me say this is department A. Consider this as a department A. Then consider this as a department B. This second. Then consider this is C. This as a department C. As a department C. So for my allocation on A here, respectively, the way you are seeing it, it's correct. So what I want to show you is this. These are my cost centers A, B, and C, where we can allocate our costs. So on A, I'm going to take this 10,000, then multiply by the number of rights that are in department A, which is this 12. I multiply by this 12. So I'm going to have my cost to be allocated to department A. Then on department B, I have to take this cost per activity. Then I multiply by the number of activities in department B, which is my cost driver, which is the rights, which is 5. This 5, I say plus 5. This is 5. It is the activities that are in the B. So we say multiply by 5. So you have this. Then on C, I'm going to have this cost per activity also multiply by, okay, a good student. So good learners, please tell me. Okay, I'm going to also multiply by this 3. This last one in department C, put it 3. Then it becomes this. So once I add up these expenditures, it will give me that total expense that were in pool, this 200,000. Now you remember this electricity, it was in general, it was in pool. That is why you say these are a cost pool. Then these cost drivers, it will help you to allocate this electricity, to account for it, such that you can be able to be specific or to break down this electricity into knowing that department A should pay this, department B should pay this, and also department C should pay this. Therefore, the total expense that was allocated to each department should equal to this 200. So let's see if it is equal. We say this 120 plus this 50,000 plus then 30,000. It gives me this. So remember, these things, this 200,000 is the same like this. If you're able to see this, these are the same. So therefore, my answer is correct. Now, so I do like that way. I apportion first the overhead they give me, the second overhead, the third overhead, whatever overheads I will be having, I will be updating, I will be also allocating them by using this way. Now, let's work on a question. Let's do a question together. These things are very simple. Let's do question together. So this step here I've done, this is an allocation. This second step, we said to determine also to allocate the cost on to be charged on each product or on each department. Now, let's do a question. Okay. Let me give you here a question to do. So of course, before we attempt to work on a question, there is advantages of activity-based costing. And also, there is a disadvantages of applying this method. You know, this method, sometimes it is impossible to allocate overhead cost to some specific activities. And also remember that in accounting, this way we involve some assumptions. So the choice of both activities and cost drivers might be inappropriate. Sometimes we may choose what is not appropriate. So A, B, C, sometime we need to make assumptions. So it is based on assumptions and simplification. And also ABC can be more complex to explain to the stakeholders, to the people who of course don't understand. And also remember that to apply this technique, activity-based costing might be expensive. Is it okay? Such that the benefit you to enjoy might not justify the cost. So that will be also the disadvantages. So the advantages are there, of course. It is very, very clear and understandable. And now let's see this example, because I want you to be very clear and be very sure that you can handle a question on activity-based costing. So before I attempt to work on this question, let me also teach you, or let me also facilitate you, or to compute also to let me help you to apportion the overhead also using absorption costing, because of course I will say that this activity-based costing is alternative to absorption costing. Let's see what is absorption costing. What does it do? So in absorption costing, okay, let's come back to our Excel file. So here I'm saying that traditional method was traditional method. I can say this traditional method is absorption costing. So this absorption costing, it were charging the overhead, of course, by assuming that the labor hours. The labor is the basis of apportionment. And also, if the examiner say that in absorption costing, use this as a basis of apportionment, so you have to use that. But general assumption is to use the labor hours or the labor information. So because traditionally we assume that before Industrial Revolution, there were no modernization, there were no machines that were used in production. The production were also involved mostly by labor. So the labor was the main factor to influence our overheads. So here in traditional method, we say that we first determine overhead absorption rate, or OAR. So this OAR, it simply means this AOR, it means, let me put it here, overhead absorption costing. Overhead absorption rate. Overhead absorption rate. Right. This was AOAR means. So from this, let's compute and say that how do we get this AOR? Our overhead absorption rate. How do we get it? So to get overhead absorption rate, we say that we need to take total, overheads. So here it is total overheads, not the total cost of activity, not to say electricity, this, no. You have to add all overheads. Add all overheads you have in equation. If it is electricity, add it with, let's say, indirect labor, add it with inspection cost, all the overheads. So total them. Once you total them, divide it by total number of labor hours. Total number of labor hours. Because now the basis of apportionment is going to be labor hours. But if examiner says, please use machine hours, so you have to use machine hours, not to use that labor hours. But I have said the assumption behind of using labor hours is because the labor were the one who also who contributes a lot in a traditional costing. So the overheads were mainly composed with the labor cost because there were no machines before Industrial Revolution. Now, here, actually, I may say, to find overhead absorption rate, in a simple word, I can say you are going to take, okay, let me see here, you're going to take, so you are going here to be using here, you are going to use here, you are going to take total overheads incurred, then you divide it by basis of apportionment. Your basis of apportionment, it must be labor hours. But if examiner says use this basis of apportionment, so you have to use it. So you have to, this basis of apportionment should be in total. Let me say this basis of apportionment. So we have to use what examiner tells us. If not, generally we assume that, so it is an implied thing. You have to assume labor hours if you are able to find them. Now let's do a question. And after this, after finding this overhead absorption rate, you do also allocation. Let's do allocation of costs using this OAR, using this overhead absorption rate. So to allocate each cost to each product or department. So allocation of cost to each product or department, which is also our respective cost center if it is A, B, C. So let's do allocation. Let's say if we had all total overheads, if it was let's say 20,000, if this was our total expenditure, let's say this was our total expenditure. If I divide it by, let's say, total labor hours, let's say we have department A, and okay, let's say we have department X, also we are producing product X, and you say we are producing product Y. So for X, let's say labor hours, if they are using 200 hours, and if here they are using, let me say, if here they're, okay, let me say here they're using 150, and here let me say if they are using 50 hours to produce the total. This is the labor hours used to come up with this product X and Y. Is it okay? To produce all the units, because this overhead is the overhead incurred for all units in general. So now my total basis will be this 150 plus 50. So here from this point, I'm going to have from this point, I'm going to have from this point, I'm going to have from this point, okay, wait, from this point, I'm going to have my overhead absorption rate as this 20,000 incurred for all overheads happened to produce product X and Y. Then I have to divide it by this total basis, which is 150 plus 50, which is becoming 200. So the overhead absorption rate will be this. This is my overhead absorption rate. This is my overhead absorption rate. This is my overhead absorption rate. Hurry together. So if this is my overhead absorption rate, let me do allocation. So I may also say that, let me come here a bit. Okay, I may say this overhead absorption, I'm going to allocate it. Let me allocate it in this way. I can now say that, so I'm going to allocate it to the cost centers of us. So we are producing two products, X and Y. So it is where we can allocate our costs. So it is our cost center. Now, and here I can come and say, this is, let's say, now, this is X, and this is a Y. Are we together? This is a X and this is a Y. So for X, I need to take this overhead absorption rate to get the overhead to be counted, to be allocated to the product X. It is this overhead absorption rate, then I multiply by 150, which is the labor hours used to produce product YX. So for Y, the same scenario, I take this overhead absorption rate, then I allocate it to this 50 only, then I get the answer. That is how we deal with how to allocate under absorption costing. So here, under absorption costing, we only pass these entries for all overheads. We allocate the overhead in total in general. But in activity-based costing, we allocate each expenditure, each activity, each overhead, we allocate it so according to what causes them, from, let's say, electricity, setup, whatever. But here we take the total overheads. Please, now let's apply it to our question. Now, let's apply it to our question. So I was about to read for you this question. Then after, we shall attempt the past paper in advanced level. So I show you how simple the question is, how simple the question will be in exam, but only requires you to understand. So here I come and say, let's come to our Excel file where we are working. Okay, where we are working. I hope everyone is understanding. So if you are not able to understand what we are saying, please give us a comment in the section box below, on the comment section box there. Then also address me whatever question you had or you may be having while you are applying this technique. So here, let me present my Excel. Let me present my Excel because here I have now question, this exercise. Let's try it. So my exercise is here. It is starting here, though. Here I can say example 1. Is it okay? So we are saying that Y Limited makes and sells 2 products, so which are called plus and double plus. The direct cost of production. So these are illustrations to use when we are studying. Of course, let's see how to deal with activity-based costing, how to apply it, and how to also to apply absorption costing. And also we are saying that Y Limited makes and sells 2 products, plus and double plus. The direct cost of production are 12 for 1 unit of plus and 24 per unit of double plus. If information relating to annual production and sales is as follows, we have plus and we have also double plus. Annual production and sales, the units are there, 24,000 units. The direct labor hour per unit, so you see the figures are here, 1 and 1 per 1.5. And also I want you to be very careful on this. If they are saying direct labor hours per unit, this means they're going to give you the number of hours used to produce 1 unit. Is it okay? So they are saying these are the direct labor hours used to produce 1 unit and the number of orders. So we have this information available to us. The number of orders is 10 and 14 to double plus. So number of batches are 12 and 24, and number of setups per batch. On plus we have 1, and on double plus we have 3. Special parts per unit. On plus you have 1, on double plus you have also 4. Information relating to production overhead cost is as follows. We have setup costs, special parts handling, other material handling, order handling, and other overheads. They are saying that the cost driver, here the examiner, here the examiner gives you a question here and say setup cost. When you are allocating it, the cost driver, the appropriate cost driver, you are going to use number of setups. Is it okay? Setup cost. So here you have to use number of setups. And the annual cost incurred for this setup cost, it is 73,200 euros. So special parts handling, you have to use number of special parts. Other material handling, you have to use number of batches. And other handling, you have to use the number of orders. So other overheads, there are nothing. There is no cost driver, which is costing 216,000. Now, other overhead cost, by continuing the question, they're saying other overhead costs, this one we read, do not have an identifiable cost driver. And in an ABC system, this overhead would be recovered on direct hour basis. Dear learners, what do you understand from this? So it means on other overheads, we have to use direct labor hour as our basis for apportioning it as our cost driver. Then required, the requirement. Examiner is asking you to calculate the production cost per unit of price and of double price if the company uses traditional absorption costing and also the overhead are recovered on a direct labor hour basis. This is clear. And the second requirement, they are saying that calculate the production cost per unit of price and of double price if the company is using activity-based costing. And remember, here we are applying activity-based costing versus the traditional costing versus absorption costing. Now, let's start on ABC because this is our main concern. Because of course, you know, the absorption costing is very, very simple. So I want to start on activity-based costing. Let's start on activity-based costing. So it is on this requirement 2. We are answering question. This is a solution. Solution. This is a solution. So this is a solution. This is a solution. Okay. By using activity-based costing, what are we going to do? Now, if you understand the question, they are asking us to produce or to come up with a cost per unit. What will be a cost of producing 1 unit of price and of double price? And also, if they ask you to determine a cost per unit of a product, you need to do a cost estimation sheet. The cost sheet, how do we do it? We say here, direct labor, direct material, direct expense, direct labor first, direct labor, and here we put here, this is direct labor, we put here direct expenses, if any, if you have them in a question. So let's say this. So if you add this, you are going now to have a prime cost or total direct cost. You're going to have total, okay, let me say direct cost, because all of these costs are directs. You're going to have direct costs or prime cost. Sometimes they may be called prime cost. Prime cost. Is it okay? Clear. This is clear. This is clear. So after this, you're going to add all factory overheads. Our factory overheads. So here, the factory overheads, we have different factory overheads, such as indirect materials, indirect materials, We have indirect labor, like salary or wages paid to supervisors, wages paid to salesmen. So those are indirect labor costs. Indirect labor costs. So indirect expenses, indirect expenses. So if you add them, also let me say this here. If you take this prime cost, if you take, okay, let me say this is our factory overheads, where I may say total overheads. So this total overheads, it is that one I was talking about on absorption costing use, this total overhead. It is the summation of this. Now, you come here and say that, okay, let me show it clearly. Let me show it clearly to you. You come here. Okay, I can say I have to take this and this, only these two. Let me take only these two. Only I take these two, this one. Okay, let me highlight them because I want to be very specific. So it is this and this. Let me highlight them. I don't know how I can. So because if I highlight it, not to be looking well. Okay, let's do like this. So if you add this direct prime cost or this direct cost with this total overheads, you're going to have total production cost, total production costs. And if you divide, sorry, if you divide it by the number units produced, total units produced, you are going to have your, so here, if you add them, you will be having, if you add them, you'll be having total operation cost, and if you divide it by this unity produced, you have to divide. I said you have to divide it. You have to use a division. You have to divide it. Are we together? You have to divide it. So to have a cost per unit, to have a cost per unit, this will give you unity cost, unit costs, or cost per unit, cost of producing one unit. I said you divide, you take this cost, total cost of production, then you divide by a unit's total number of units produced, you get cost per unit. So these are the simple approaches. These are a cost estimation sheet. Cost, I may say cost estimation sheet. Is it okay? If you want to determine a cost of producing one unit, unity cost, cost per unit, so you need to come up with this cost sheet. You need to do it. Now, on activity-based costing, from our question, what are our cost center in equation? They are saying this Y Limited, it makes and sell two products, price and double price. So we are producing price and double price, and they want us also to determine a cost per unit of price and the double price. So let's put here our products, our cost centers. We are producing price because we want to come up with the cost of producing price and the cost of producing double price. They have also double price. Double price. It is very clear and understandable. Let's see, let's have like this. Now, here, what I can say is this. Here, I want to say we have, but once you read the question, they are saying that why didn't it make sense sells two product price and double price? This first sentence, the direct cost of production, the direct costs. They say the direct. Friends, remember they say the direct cost of production are 12 for one unit of price and 24 per unit of double price. And here we said direct cost is this. So we don't need to come and define direct material, direct labor, and the direct expenses because they give us total direct cost of one unit. Is it okay? So I have to use this 12 and 24 as my direct cost. So we start here, not to start from this. I'm going to start here. Okay, very clear. I can say my direct cost, direct costs. I know I have per units, but I know that we are producing the number of units, the annual production and the sales. When you look at this information, this one here where the castle is 24 and 24, they produced annually, they produced 24,000 units of each product. So we have to say 12, it is per one unit. So if I multiply, I get the totals. If I have 12 for one unit, I multiply by this 24. So I am going to work like that. Then I come back and divide by this number of units to have cost per unit to make these things very easy for me. And also it will ease the work here on apportioning this annual cost. Now, that is why I'm equating them to the annual production. I have to say 12 of producing one unit. This is the direct cost of one unit. So I multiply by 24 units, 24,000 units produced in a year. So I'll be having my things there. Is it okay? Very clear and correct. So we have to say on double price, it is 24. It is to produce one unit, it requires 24 per unit. So I have to say 24 here. 24, so I multiply it by 24,000. So I'm going to have here the direct cost of producing price and direct cost of producing double price. So let's put here my factory overheads. Factory overheads. Is it okay? And remember, when we were learning activity-based costing, we said that it is a method, also it is an approach that is used to account for an overhead. It will help you to apportion overheads that are incurred in general. So for you to be specific, to allocate them, to be able to allocate them, those general expenses to the respective cost center, to price or to double price, to each department it depends. So we have to use that one. Let's say now we apply ABC on overheads. You never apply activity-based costing on direct cost. Is it okay? It is clear and understandable. Please do not make that mistake. Now here on factory overhead, we're going to account it using our activity-based cost because we're correcting the question using activity-based costing. Now let me apply my activity-based costing. So they say step number 1, if you remember, to determine cost per activity. Step number 2, you do allocation. And in the steps we have said when we are implementing ABC, we need to identify what are the activity happened. What are the, if we know the activity happened, and of course, it's to identify the overheads incurred, and also identify the cost driver, and also determine the cost driver rate, and also you compute, so you allocate. That is the way we have seen that 5 steps, if you remember. So we are saying on a setup, we have here, they say here, information relating to production overhead cost is as follows. Our overhead costs are this. Setup cost, it has 73,200, which means this setup cost, it is an activity happened, and this activity happened, also it makes us spend or incurring this cost of 73,200. Is it okay? That is how you see it. That this is an expenditure. This is a cost happened, but in general, we don't know what happened. We don't know what money to charge for plus and double plus, such as if you add them, it will give you the 73,200. Okay, let me first write these costs as my first thing. So I have to say setup cost. So the activity happened is to setting the machine, setup costs. And also I have special parts handling, it's a special parts handling. And I also have other materials handling, and I also have order handling, and I also have all other overheads. So on setup cost, what to put here? I know in total the expenditure happened is this 73. Let me put here this for learning purpose. Here we have 73,200. It is in general, and I am saying that I don't know what to allocate here. Let's say this is what we don't know, and let's say here we don't know what to allocate here, such that if you add them, it will give you 73,200. So how to do that? So I will do this to all expenditures until here, up to here. So rem, now do here my workings. Let me say here workings. So think here, this is my answer up to here, then these are my workings. So workings, I'm going to first allocate setup cost. So also determine setup cost. I'm going to allocate it to determine the cost to be allocated to this plus and double plus, but on setup cost. So I have here setup costs, and it is going to incur this. What are remember the 2 steps we said here? We said that determine cost per activity, then you do allocation. How do you determine cost per activity? You say it is total cost, you divide by the total number of activity, then when you do allocation, you use these cost drivers. You use this total number of activities we have added for you to be able to come up with this cost per activity. Sometimes it's called cost driver rate. So here the setup cost incurred is let me say it is a 73,200. That is the cost incurred here. Now this cost incurred, of course, you see these are total cost incurred here. When you look at setup cost, the money spent for us annually to set up the machine, it was 73,200. So I need to use number of setup as my cost driver, as my number of activity. I say number of setups. It will be my cost driver. Now we need to get total number of setups, because we say you divide by here, when you look at this formula, total number of activity, total number of activity. So our activity is going to be this cost drivers, which is the number of setups. And let's see from the information we have, does it allow us to get a number of setups, or we have a number of setups? Let's see if we have it. So they say information into an operation in sales, they give us an operation in sales, the direct labor per hour unit, number of orders, so number of batches, number of setups per batch, and also special parts per unit. But you look at here, this number of setup per batch. This is what we want. We are saying that number of setups per batch. It is what they give us. They say per batch. It is number of setups per batch. So, but this is not the number of setups the examiner command us to use. The examiner tells us to use number of setups, not number of setup per batch. So we have to find the number of setup per batch, number of setups, not number of setup per batch. So if we have, let me put here another thing here, our workings, because I want you to think. If we have number of setup per batch, okay, and we don't know number of setups, can we get number of setups from this information? Yes, it is possible. Yes, as good learners, you come and say how they have get this number of setups per batch. How they get this number of setups per batch? Actually, they take number of setups. So they divide it by. You get? So they say here number of setups per batch. If they say per, it is to divide by these batches. They divide by the total number of batches. Is it okay? They divide by number of batches. So I can say total number of batches. So if you do like that, you'll be having total number of setups per batch, because you divide all the setups with the batches. You get per batch. It's okay. If we say this per, it is meaning divided by. The second thing they give you, very simple. Now, here they give us also 1. Is it okay? They give us the number of setup per batch. They gave us 1. Then they say it has to be equal to. We wanting this number of setups is what we are finding. It's what I'm trying to find for you. So here we have not number of setups, but we want number of batch. How did I get this number of batch? Let me see if I have the information to find. I have here the number of batches you get. I have 12 number of batches. I have 12, and I have also 24. I can say here I have 12, and here I have 24. This is for double. This is for plus. This one is for plus. This is for double plus. So here the number of setups is we don't know it. So how to get this? So let me put here the question mark. I'm asking myself, I'm getting myself this. So I want to find that what will be this. So if the number of setup per batch is 1, I have to take it is cross multiplication. 12 multiplied by this 1. Is it okay? I'll be having this. So it means the answer is 12. So if I have 12 divided by 12, I'll be getting 1, which is number of setup per batch. So means number of setup is 12. Is it okay? Very clear. So here for plus, number of setup is 12, and double plus, number of setup will be how much? If we have 24, and the number of setups here, number of setups per batch, they gave us for double plus. Look at here. Let's come here. Number of setup per batch here, where the cursor is here on this line of 37 here. I'm seeing number of setup per batch. They gave us 3. It is 3. So how to get this 24? So they say if our equal answer is 3, is it okay? So what to do is this. My answer is 3, and I'm finding what will be this. I'm finding what will be this. Read together. So I am finding what will be this. So 24 multiplied by 3, you will get also the number of setups, which means if you take 3, if you take this 3, you multiply by 24, you'll be getting 72. This 72 divided by 24, you get the number of setup per batch, which is 3. Correct? So we put here 72. Again, on the other hand, by thinking the leg 3 without going too much to these things, now remember, if they say now, number of setups per batch, it is number of setups incurred in order to come up with one batch. And we know we have number of batches. What if I multiply? So I can get to 2 number of setups. 1 multiplied by 12. So I get to 2 number of batches, which is also 12. And here 3 multiplied by 24, which is 72. So it is another way to get this number of setups. Is it okay? So use whatever way is simple to you. But what I want you to be very quick when you are doing a question in exam. This is our number of setups per batch. So I'm going to have now this 73,000 divided by, okay, I have to divide it by 84. 84, which is 12 plus 72. 84, which is this 12 plus this 72, the total of this number of setups. So I get this. So these are my cost per activity. This is cost per activity. Let me say cost per activity. So we call it cost driver at some time. So let me do allocation. I want to allocate it to plus and double plus. Let me do allocation like that way, the way we have done it on the first. How have we done it? We say that this should be here. Okay, let me say again. Okay, so I will not do this again because I wanted you to be familiar with this, but I will not use this again because you need also to take it as a formula for you. So this is a double plus for double plus, D plus double plus. So here for allocation, I am going to take 871. Is it okay? Okay, let me take this cost per activity. How we said to allocate, you take this cost per activity multiplied by this 12 for plus. For double plus, you multiply by this 72. So I multiply by this 12 because this is the number of setups in plus required to produce plus. So I'm going to have this figure. And then here also I'm going to have this cost per activity. Then I multiply by this 72. I read together. Then it gives me this. Okay, so these numbers is going now to be my what? This is going to be my cost allocated. This is a setup of cost incurred to produce plus. This is for double plus. Okay, let me put a double plus. Double plus. So I repeat the leg 3 again. So I not do like this way of allocating like this, but it is the same. So I'm going to say here it has to be this 14, and then here it has to be this 62. So if you add them, if you add this and this, you see, what do you get? It is this 73. Look at here, down. Here, let's sum. They say it must be 73,200. 73,200 here, down. 73,200, which is here, my total expenditure happened in general. So that is how I'm going to allocate all of these expenditures. Once we finish them, the question will be ending. So now let's continue on special parts handling. Special parts handling, let me do it here. Special parts handling. Special parts handling. How do we do it? What is my total cost incurred for special parts handling? They say it is 60,000. Look at here, special parts handling. I have to use a number of special parts as cost driver, and I have here 60,000. 60,000. So I'm going to put here 60,000. 60,000 as my setup. So as my special parts handling cost incurred. So I divide it by the number of special parts, because they say I have to use number of special parts as my cost driver here. These are the information I'm given. Number of special parts. So number of special parts is going to be what? Let's see if we have them. So from my question, I have number of special parts. Okay, I have special parts per unit. Is it okay? It is special parts per unit, which means they take all the special parts, the number of special parts, then they divide it by the number of units produced. So they take special parts divided by the units. So I have the units, which is this 24. I have the units in a equation, and I have also special parts per unit. So if I multiply it together, I will be getting special parts, the number of special parts that I am finding, because the examiner tells me, ordered me to use on the number of special parts, not special parts per unit. Is it okay? Here I can come and say I have 24. Okay, let's come here again. If you don't understand, if we have 1 as special parts per unity, 1, and here the number of units are, let's say, the number of units they tell us they produce 24,000. And here I'm asking myself, what will be this? What will be this? So I'm asking myself, what will be this? What to take? So if I take this, multiply by this, I get this answer. Is it okay? Which means 24 multiplied by 1, it is 24,000. It is 24,000. And then if you divide this, 24 divided by 24, you get 1. So special parts is this. The special parts will be this 24. So special parts for plus, it will be 24. You may say 24. Then plus. I need to find also the number of special parts of in a double plus, the total. So in double plus, if you look at here, we have also 4. And you see the way I'm doing it. So I'm saying if I have here 4, let's say if we have here 4 and they produce 24,000, so how can I get, I'm asking myself, how can I get this? Is it okay? How can I get this? So I will take this 24 multiplied by 4, which is 24,000 multiplied by 4. 24 is the unit produced, divided by this 4. I'm going to have 96. So plus here 96. What I was trying to get. So this 96, sorry. So here the answer will be the cost per activity. Here the cost per activity. The cost per activity will be this. The cost per activity, it should be this divided by. So if you take 96 and you add this 24,000, so you get 120 by 120. So you are going to get now 0.5. So the answer is 0.5, which means you're going to get 0.5 euros per special parts. Is that okay? So let's allocate to plus, and let's allocate to double plus. So how to work on this plus? I will take this and I multiply by this 24,000. This one for plus 24. This 24,000 for plus. It will give me 12,000. So and even here I will take this cost per activity and I will multiply by this 96. So I say this 96, which is this 48. So these are my figures, my correct figure. So it has to be this 12, and also it has to be this 48. And if I add them, remember that if I add it, okay, let me add it here, you see, it gives me 60,000. Remember, what is 60,000? It is total expenditure for special parts handling. This is 60,000, which is this answer. It was the 60 that I was allocating, so it is the same. So that is how we are going to work on these things. Is it okay? So I continue other material handling. Let's do other material handling. Other material handling. How to work on it? So I come quickly, and I know other material handling, they say to use number of batches when I am allocating them. So I'm going to take this cost, 63,000, divided by total number of batches. So I'm going to take this 63,000, dear friends. So I divide it by, so I go with the number of batches. Is it okay? So here, my question is a number of batches. Do we have a number of batches? Yes, look at here. The number of batches are there. We have 12 for plus, and double plus we have 24. So you have to come and use this. 12, it is for plus, then plus this 24 for double plus. Are we together? These are the answers. So they give me 12 and 24, of course. So this 12, it is for plus, this 24 is for double plus. So I come here and take this 63. So I divide it by 12 plus this 24. It will be 12 if you divide it by, if you add it by 12 will add by 24, you'll be getting 36. Is it okay? 36 divided by 36. So it will give you now this is my cost driverlet. Okay, I wish these things should be here, not there. It should be here, but what should be, it must be my cost per activity, which is this is 63 divided by 12 plus 24, which is 36. So I have this one as my answer, as my cost per activity. So I allocated 2 plus and also double plus. So I'm going to have now, I'm going to have this cost per activity multiplied by 12, this 12 for plus. So I'm going to have here my figure, and even here I'm going to have this cost per activity, then I multiply by this 24, so I get 42. So the answer is 21 and 42. Is it okay? So the answer will be this, and also here the answer will be this 42. Again, order handling. This order handling, I need to find, okay, let me allocate now order handling. It will be, so what is the total cost of order handling? Cost incurred for order handling. So we incur 19,800. We said 19,800. So 19,800 divided by, so I go with what? Let me see what examiner tells me to use. He tells me to use number of orders. So the number of orders, what are they? Here we have them. The number of orders is 10 for plus, and double plus is 14. So I have to use here, I have to use 10 plus 14. Are we together? This will be my my order handling, which will be equal to 19 divided by 24, which is 10 plus 14. So I have this as my order handling. So this was cost per activity. So I put it 2 plus, and here double plus. Is it okay? Double plus. Okay, let me put here double plus, which is going to give me, for plus it will be this cost per activity, this one multiply by this 10. This 10 for what? This 10 is for plus. So remember here we use number of orders as my cost driver. So you get 8 to 50. So for double plus, I'm going to get this cost per activity. So I multiply by this 14, which is going to be this. So these are the answer for plus and double plus. So I come here and say my answer will be this one, and also here the answer should be this one. So if you add them, if you add this, okay, let me add it for you. It will be this, then plus this, which is 19,800, which was my cost of order handling, the cost incurred, the expenditure, the overheads for order handling. So I specify them, I break down it into plus and double plus to know the cost incurred for producing this. So these are it annually, the cost incurred. So now we go to other overheads, and then other overheads are, so they said other overheads, if you remember, there is no cost driver, but examiner tells us that other overhead costs do not have an identifiable cost driver. And when you are using activity-based costing system, this overhead would be recovered on a direct labor hour basis. So you have to use direct labor hours. So let me portion it using direct labor hours. Let me say hours. Direct labor hours. What is my total cost? What is my total overheads or total other overheads? It is 216,000. 216,000. It is this. So I have to divide it by direct labor hours. So do you have direct labor hours for plus and double plus? Let's find if we can get it. So here, if you get the information here, they give me direct labor hour per unit. Look at here, direct labor hours per unit. It means the hour spent to produce 1 unit, the hours required to produce 1 unit, or the hours used to produce 1 unit. It is 1 and 1.5. So if I multiply by these numbers by 24,000, I get the total labor hours to produce plus. The total labor hours to produce double plus. So I have to use 1 and 1.5. Is it okay? So I said for plus, and let me say double plus, do plus. So double plus, it will be 1 multiply, okay, it is going to be this one multiplied by 24,000. So I multiply by 24,000. I multiply by 24,000. 24,000 units produced. So I get it. So here for double plus, I'm going to have 1.5. Yes, I know it is 1.5. So go there up to look at it. So it is 1.5. Then you multiply, sorry, 1.5. Then you multiply it by 24,000 units produced for double plus. So it is going to be give me 36. These are the hours. Is it okay? These are the hours. These are hours for plus. These are direct labor hours. Let me say the RH. Allow me to use that. So which also implies the direct labor hours. So that is it. That is how I get this 24. Is it okay? Very simple. So this 24 and this 36. So I have to use here, this is my direct labor hours, 24,000 hours plus this 36,000 hours. So if I add them, I'm going now 24 plus 36, it is going to be 60. So my cost per activity is going to be this total overhead. So divided by the total of this 24 plus 36, which is 60,000. Is it okay? So I'm going to have 3.6. So for plus and double plus, I'm going to have now, for plus and double plus, I'm going to have this cost per activity. I multiply by 24,000, which is hours. And this was also other overhead cost, euros per hour, per direct labor hour. So I multiply by it. Is it okay? I multiply by it. So this is 86,400. 86,400. So here again, it will be this 3.6, then I multiply by 36,000. So I'll be having 129, which is going to be now 86, and here it is going to be 129,600. So now you see all of the costs have been allocated. Now let's add them to have total cost of production. Total costs of production. Is it okay? Total cost of production. It will be this. Is it okay? It will be this. Plus this total direct cost also, I have to add it there, which will become this. As well as here, it has to be this. So this will be my answers. Are we together? So this is my total cost of production. Total, I said total. So if the total, and they ask me to produce cost per unit here, calculate the production cost per unit of price and double price if the company is using activity-based costing. So let me divide it by the number of units produced. Units produced. The units produced was 24,000. We know that. It is in the question, 24,000. So, and here, if I take this divide by this, I'll be getting what? My cost per unit. So the unit costs, or okay, let me say cost per unit. Cost per unit, cost of producing 1 unit, it will be now this divided by this 24, which is this 18. It gives me 18. So I have rounded off. Of course, I know there will be some decimals, which is this. So the answer is actually this, but even if you round, it's okay. No problems in it. So the money we were using, it was euros. It was this, euros. It was this, so euros. Okay, so these are the money. We are now, the cost per unit, it is this. So this is plus and double plus. So now, Remy, so here you can now you cannot advise without also computing the activity using absorption costing. Now let's use absorption costing. But this is the answer as per activity-based costing. So here my answer is that. My answer is that this 17 and this. So Here, let's use now absorption costing. Absorption costing. So when we use absorption costing, how will we get this? If we are using absorption costing, how will we get this? By using activity absorption costing, which is our also, it is called conventional method or traditional method. Traditional method. So this traditional method, how do we use it? We say that how to use this traditional method. This traditional method will be this. Okay, let's also come up with this. It is very simple. That is why I have worked on it after. So remember, I said on traditional costing, read here. Traditional method, how do we apply this traditional method on absorption costing? We say that over there, we find only absorption overhead. Sorry, we find overhead absorption rate by taking total overhead divided by total number here, divided by the total number of labor hours. Also here, this is very clear for us. This one, it is very clear, very, very clear. But I want you to know it. This one I am talking about. This one. Is it okay? So I'm talking about this. This one, it is actually this overhead absorption rate will be total overhead divided by the basis of apportionment. So you use total. If the basis of apportionment is labor hours, you have to use total labor hours. But I said generally you have to assume labor hours. So if not, use what examiner tells you to use for you to be able to apportion the overhead. Now, I said again, we use this absorption costing to account for overheads, not to apply it to direct cost, because direct cost does not be allocated because it is direct. The electric allocated to the business, to the product, or to the cost center. So we apply it to overheads. Please, I can repeat this until you understand. So we are saying that here, from our question, they gave us also this from the information. They say we have the direct cost of production, which is 12 and 24 per unit for plus and double plus. 12 for plus, 24 per double plus. Now here I come and say my direct cost. Again, it is a cost estimation I do. So I take a 12 multiplied by that 24,000. Is it okay? I have this one. And also here, it has to be 24 multiplied by that 24,000 units produced. 24,000 units produced. It is going to give me 576. Now, what are the factory overheads? Let's see. Factory overheads. My factory overheads. So we're going to apply here overhead. We're going to apply here. Sorry, we're going to apply here absorption costing by using absorption costing. Is it okay? Let's say here workings in absorption costing. In absorption costing workings. Here the workings is this. Here the workings will be this. Very simple. I want you to understand this because it is quick and understandable. So we need to find overhead absorption rate. We said how to get it. We say you need to take total overheads. Total overheads. Total overheads. Then you divide it without doing anything. You divide it by total labor hours. Sorry, total basis of apportionment. And here the basis of apportionment is direct labor hours, because even examiner says that to use that labor hours, but it is also the general assumption you have to use labor hours unless the examiner gives you what to use. Gives you, let's say, if the examiner command you to use machine hours, you have to use machine hours in order to do what you want. It's okay. Never create your own equation in exam. Please try to harmonize the information they give you in a question with the understanding you have acquired. So remember to be professional. It's a process, so you need to understand and also analyze information very clearly with the careful, also diligently. Now, divide by total labor hours. This labor hours is direct. It is a total direct labor hours. Okay, let me be specific. Total direct, because the examiner told me to use direct labor hour, so I have to use direct labor hour. And it is also the general assumption I say, and I give you the logic behind of using it. So here, what is my overhead absorption rate? Okay, let's first see what was the total overheads. The total overhead from the question here, they say information relating to operation overhead cost is as follows. Setup, whatever. These are overheads incurred. So the total of them, it is 432. The total of them here, the total is 432,000. So you have to use this 432,000. 432,000. So if I divide it, this 432,000, I have to divide it by total direct labor hours. What is my direct labor hours? It is this working here, this working. Here I determine my direct labor hours because I had per unit, so I make it in total such that I can be able to determine the direct labor hours in total, because this is total overhead, so you have to divide by total labor hours. Is it okay? So which is 4 plus, it is 24,000. We find them plus this is 36. This is 36. 36,000. So I'm going to have this. This is my overhead absorption rate. How I will find them? Okay. So the answer will be this 432, this 432, and if you divide by 24 plus this 36 is 60,000. So you divide by 60,000. So you're going to get now 7.2. You see the answer is 7.2, which is, this was money. This is cost. This is let's say this is the euros, of course, as per the question. Then this is hours. This means this is euro per direct labor hour. Per direct labor hour. So I multiply by the number of hours in a plus and double plus. So let me do allocation. Remember my allocation. Let me do it once again. So I said that if you remember what I was telling you, I said we can now have here 4 plus, and let me say here 4 double plus. Only one entry. Okay. Say here, this is 4 plus, and here you see double plus. So here 4 plus, I'm going to take this 7. I'm going to take this 7.2, then I multiply by 24,000. Is it okay? So I get this. So here, I'm going also to take this 7.2, so I multiply by this 36,000. Is it okay? So I get this. These are my total. This is my overhead D to be allocated to plus and double plus. Only like this. You don't need to go to each overhead. You put it in general. So you say here, you put it in general. Where I say this is for plus. This is for plus. Okay, I come here and say this is for plus. And here, this is for double plus. So what is my total production cost? Total. Okay, let me say here, total production costs. Is it okay? It is going to be this. Total production cost is going to be this. So here, total production cost is going to be also this. This is total production cost. So units produced. It is how much? Remember in the question, it is 24,000. Is it okay? 24,000 units. So 24,000 units. So what is my cost per unit as per absorption costing? Cost per unit, it will be this 460. You divide it by 24,000, and also here you have to take this divided by this 24,000. So to be having your cost per unit. So let's not let's be like this. Is it okay? So I think you understand this. Very, very simple and very clear, understandable. So these things are very simple. I want you to do it, to be able to do it in exam once they ask you the question related to costing, using activity-based costing, absorption costing. So it is very simple. Now, I encourage you also to subscribe and also to share the videos to the other colleagues who might be having the problem on a costing, using activity-based costing versus absorption costing. And also, we are going to now to correct the question from past papers to check if you have understood all the content that you have also learned now. So remember to put here the comment. All the question should be addressed in the comment section box. So you have to put in the question, and also remember to hit like if you like the videos. So thank you. Watch out the next videos for correction of the past papers. Thank you.